thank you so much for joining us. And today's discussion, we would want to keep it to how cloud has enabled businesses today and what were the challenges the customers faced and how did they overcome using cloud technology, and especially what was the role of AWS in contributing to where they are today, right? So, Srinath, I would want to start with you, right? You mentioned that you have seen phenomenal growth in your business in less than 4 years. That's really remarkable. Could you talk to us about how did AWS support this growth, and today leveraging this digital cloud technologies, how are you creating differentiation for your business today?
A fun fact, while in my college, so I graduated 2012 from NIT Warangal, and as part of that, I did one of my, what you could say, the main project, the 4th year project on cloud computing related aspect. And I was happy that AWS had a free trial right from then, so that, all of us could log into that and kind of explore what it is and kind of build things out. And I mean, at that time, we didn't have credit cards and all that. So it was a really big, a big thing. So from then on, I kind of had a good knowledge of AWS and what it does. And I did explore other platforms. I think somebody mentioned Azure, and I think GCP also is a major thing. And now Oracle also has a big presence. But despite all of that, I think even till now, since almost 10 years, I think AWS has kind of been like really amazing in terms of both, like everything, like price, simplicity from a developer point of view, and support wise as well. So everything combined, I think it was quite good. So and when we started like 4 years ago, it was like we were dealing with 100 customers, and a year after that about maybe like 4,000 odd, and then right now we are doing about like 20,000 businesses. Like these are all manufacturing units, yeah. So pan India, and the scale was very easy. We started right off with AWS, so we didn't have any kind of issues when we had to scale up. So that was like, it was magic, right? And yeah.
And how these cloud technologies today, right, especially on AWS, are helping you create that differentiation as well, right? Because you have multiple channels when you started off
right.
your business to reach out to your consumers. So how has that change been, and how do you see this differentiation being easily created using AWS cloud today?
Right. So I mean, I know a few organizations who are probably legacy organizations that still use servers, right? And if we could compare ourselves to them, like, I mean, then you can see that we didn't have any issues. I mean, they would have run into issues, especially during lockdowns and stuff, right? When you had to close offices. I mean, we didn't have any issues because we adopted AWS right before that. So that is a big differentiation, I would say. And it's simplicity, right? I mean, eventually it all comes down to mind space, right? How much mind space do you want to spend on growing your business versus managing your IT and infrastructure? I mean, if you're not, if you're spending the least amount of time in your managing your DevOps and stuff, then because for almost 1.5 years, I was managing everything in the tech part, like coding, testing, everything, right? So how do you do that if you're spending a large amount of your time in DevOps, right? You can't do that. So, yeah.
And then throughout this journey, what was your experience of using AWS platform, and what kind of support did you receive from the AWS teams?
Yeah, that was actually quite surprising for me because typically you expect big organizations that you'll be lost out in terms of support, especially in the beginner years, right? When you're not visible when people don't know much about you. But we found a support and account manager assigned to us right at the initial stages, uh, right in the first year or something. And since then, whenever I contacted, I got an immediate response. That was a second shock, right? I mean, a lot of support things, you don't find immediate response and all of what you need, right? But it was kind of very nice that whenever we needed any kind of technical help or support, we had the account manager. I think ours right now is Mr. Chinmay. I hope I can highlight him specifically for that. In general, pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the feedback. I'm sure Chinmay would be happy today. Coming to you, Gurmukh, right? You talked about cloud technologies, making them affordable and easy, simple, right? But just extending on the type of support Srinath is talking about, right? You have been part of multiple forums, and one of the constant feedback that we receive on what differentiates AWS apart from the platform offerings is also how we engage with the customers, right? You briefly touched upon working backwards with the customer. You briefly talked about customer obsession as well, right? Could you walk the audience around what are the different mechanisms, the way AWS teams engage with the customers? What are the levers our customers today can leverage while working with AWS?
No, thank you. So let's look at yourself, right? You may be in a different stage of digital maturity. You may have a business where you already are using technology, but you need to now accelerate the technology. You may be a business where you might be starting now and then want rapid acceleration. You may be a business which suddenly starts getting a lot of customers through digital channels, so need to scale up 100x, 1000x, millionx, whatever. Our model really is what we call as a combination of things we do in an orchestrated manner so that we are as close to you as possible, as customer obsessed as possible. So what do? A developer or somebody who needs to start a particular application can go to AWS and start an account, right? If you really are smart, you could actually start it free, literally, right? And you could run it for a certain period of time with no investment. You could do your testing, you could do your innovation, you can really figure out, you can create your MVP. So we provide those tools, technologies online. Then we disproportionately, as compared to any other technology provider in the world, invest in education. SME Vidyalaya, as an example, or a lot of work we do around technical certification. We have our colleague Sanjay here. If you get time to talk to him, he can tell you more about it. So we disproportionately invest in education. We have whole library of digital content which is available, which is more self-serve in nature, but you can start with that. We have thousands and thousands of approved partners and trainers who can help you with that. Let's go a step up. Bar none, we are the only technology company who's investing in headcount people in tier 3, tier 4 cities. Right? We are not a Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore organization. We have folks here, we have folks in 20 plus cities who are AWS employees. And we are making that investment ahead of the curve. We don't make an investment saying, okay, once the city becomes so much revenue, that's part of my job, by the way, as a strategy guy. I don't look at data and say, hey, let that city become so many $1 million revenue, then I'll give a headcount. No, we do it other way around. We first put a headcount and then see, let's grow it. Right? Let's work with the customers and grow it. That's a very different paradigm. Then we have over 9,800 Amazon partner network partners, APN partners, partners who are part of Amazon network, who have taken basic certification and qualification to be able to provide this service to you. Remember the first server you bought? you did not go and install it yourself. You had a partner come in, put in your premises, configure it, make it available. We have 9,800 of them today in the country. So you are more than welcome to use them, take advantage of them. Few of them are in the room, so they'll be happy to even work with you. And on top of it, right, we constantly come up with programs which can help you really go through that initial hump of the transition from your core legacy infrastructure to cloud-based infrastructure. So we have credit programs. We spend so much time and effort in providing you with schemes, promotions, and so on, so that you are able to start that journey. Our idea is that irrespective of where you are in your digital maturity, start small. Sounds counterintuitive, right? Not many IT vendors will come and tell you start small. I'm telling you, as AWS, start small. Figure it out. Take advantage of all the resources we are providing. And then when you accelerate faster than anybody else. So that's our ethos. We are investing ahead of the curve. We continue to invest. We have, and now one of the things which I did not speak in my keynote, and I want to just touch upon in a very small sentence, we are also the most secure cloud. Folks, in the digital first world, cyber risk is going to be the single biggest issue which is you'll get to confront. Right? In the physical world, you put guards in front of your factories, right? You put guards on your shop floor. What about your digital assets, right? Cyber risk is a big thing. And there's a joke which goes on in cybersecurity. There are two kinds of companies. One who know they have been hacked, and one who don't know yet that they've been hacked. So the fact of the matter is that cyber risk and security is going to be a single biggest issue which you will have to deal with at some point in time. We are the most secure cloud. So we comply with all the standards as per Government of India regulation, both from a data privacy as well as security standpoint. So those are the investments we are making ahead of the curve for you to take advantage of.
Thank you, Gurmukh. Audience, quick show of hand, how many of you would be interested to know more about the programs that we have for you, and especially training and the different playbooks which you can leverage depending upon what journey you are today, right? That's wow, wonderful. I urge you all to please talk to our local team, Pune-based team. We have almost 10-member team available here today. Please feel free to interact with them. We have Sanjay from trainings also available today, who can help you with the different learning roadmaps for your organization, depending upon what stage you are in the adoption of these technologies, right? So thank you so much. Dr. Makaran, Gurmukh today just briefly touched how pandemic impacted different businesses and personally and professionally, right? And you coming from a hospital and a healthcare, you were really at the front line, right? I would really want to thank for all the efforts your team have been putting.
Let's hear it for them.
Thank you so much. I would like to understand from you, right? How did cloud technologies today, helped you keep up with the patient care? If you could talk to us about your experience and what were the learnings from this pandemic that you would really want to incorporate?
Yeah, so when we saw the pandemic impact overall, I think cloud was the most powerful tool that we could utilize to deliver our services to patients, to communications with the doctors, communications with the government agencies. So using cloud platforms is how we could survive, basically, because we saw that a lot of limitations were there in terms of accessing the physical assets, which are lying across different locations. And had we been without a cloud service provider, we would have been in big trouble. So we have utilized cloud services to best possible ways to get the business up running, providing the best services to the patients when they need it the most, and ensuring that we are continuously in contact and in communicating with our patients and with our doctors so that we could provide the required services when specifically talking about wave 2, which hit the most in India. In wave 2, we could survive and we could provide better services only because of the services that we used, which were cloud native. So we didn't have to invest time in implementing something, to roll out something and then providing services. So that entire investment of time went behind communicating with the customers, communicating with our internal staff and with the patients. And that really helped us, and that realized what is the future, how we could leverage cloud-based platforms. And maybe in future, this would be the new normal, the way we interacted on the digital platforms. That would be one of the primary channel of communication, which I think healthcare industry will adopt, because healthcare in totality have seen a lot of value when adopting digital platforms to execute the day-to-day operations and to execute the patient and the doctor conversations. So I think e-tele services, providing consulting over maybe a mobile app or VC would be a new normal when it comes to telemedicines. And no longer, I think, there would be a physical requirement of the patient necessarily going down to the doctor to physically meet him. Most of the times, if he's a known patient to the doctor, so the doctor knows the history of the patient, and he can immediately, quickly give some consultation, which could actually help the patient to recover faster, rather than waiting for an appointment, physically meeting the doctor at the hospital. All of that can be very easily avoided. And that would be a bigger advantage for the patient as well as the doctor, because the doctor is able to address more patients in lesser time. And the time constraint, like typically the hospital operates out of there is always an OPD time, right, allocated for a doctor, and the patients have to come within that time frame to meet him and take the consultation. So all of that constraints would be gone once the digital platforms are adopted properly. So it is a trend that has got set now due to the pandemic. And going forward, I think the healthcare industry will leverage all of these learnings from this pandemic situation that they had, and the way the operations were getting conducted and transformed. I think this is a big achievement for the healthcare industry. And you'll see that in coming years, the service levels of these healthcare industries is going to improve a lot.
Great insights on the trends, right? And then you briefly talked about digital platforms. How will digital platforms enable to capture these trends and enhance the patient care, right? Could you also talk to us about some of the initiatives that these trends today are leading to some digital transformation, and how, as your own organization, how are you leveraging AWS Cloud to cover up and deliver these digital transformation?
Yeah, so as I said, that digital channels are going to be the primary point of contact for the patients. So almost every healthcare organization is planning to have an patient app or an interface where the patient could immediately interact with the hospital staff and get the needed guidance and consultation. And that is the immediate point of contact. And then eventually a lot of other services can be delivered, like booking or reserving maybe a test from the hospital, or getting some reports on the mobile or through a web-based application. So all of that interactions now will start having done through a digital channel rather than waiting for the physical report to get delivered to the patient and then the consultation with the doctors. All of that can be quickly enabled, and cloud is one of the biggest platforms that would be leveraging because it is quickest way to deploy, it is flexible, and it is reliable.
Great, great. Thank you so much for sharing these insights with us. Manish, you talked about having a core banking solution for cooperative banks, yes, right? Yes. And it would be interesting to know from you if you could talk about the journey that these solutions were initially deployed on premises and what made you arrive as an organization towards a business decision that these solutions should be available on cloud as well, right? How did you, what factors led to this and how did you arrive at this?
Okay. Basically, I'll just, couple of steps, I'll start. The cooperative banking industry, they majorly focused on having on-prem setup because as they are banking, they feel that the data in their own premises is much more safer than keeping it anywhere else. Ownership, what we put it across. So they always thought of it, but nobody was ready to accept that this kind of service available, which can be, the data is maintained remotely, but in your own ownership. Nobody was ready for that. Fortunately, thanks to our management who thought of it and who went through the thoughts of our technology team, who said, well, let's explore the cloud. In 2017, we started working on it. And 18, we were almost ready with it. As we were mentioning earlier, that by 17 itself, I mean, 18 itself, we were ready with the concept of taking it on cloud. Okay. The best part is our solution is a browser-based application itself. So there was no additional technological improvements need to be done. So we had to just use some platform. It was physical. Instead of that, we tried cloud. But initially, when we started, thought process started, the first name we thought was about AWS. There were other cloud vendors as well, but we evaluated on various parameters. Majorly the scalability, which very well was explained by Sir. That was the major part. And being a cooperative industry, cost pricing model was very important. And we found AWS was perfect for this industry as compared to others because licensing was also included in all this. Doing so, we first installed we went through this cloud process implementation in Assam, which was our first bank on cloud. And it was a very successful model. And I would like to just add that most of the cloud vendors insist on having a connectivity expenses much more comparatively. And we were able to do that with the lowest possible connectivity solution available. That's broadband and VPN connection. Using that, we were able to provide access to the data, which was much faster than the on-prem data. So that's what we did. And we started with it in 2018, one by one, adding each customer. And today we have almost 40 plus customers live. So that's a big number in cooperative industry because making them believe that your data is safe. And of course, what you say, whenever they need infrastructure scalability is easily available, which we were able to actually exhibit it to most of the larger banks. And digitally speaking, we have many UPI running banks today. So UPI, which we were discussing earlier, that there are multiple transactions happening in seconds, and that had to be, and that kind of process had to be handled, which was very difficult to handle it in the on-prem. So AWS Cloud is very much a perfect solution for that kind of requirement. So.
Thanks so much for those kind words. And you also mentioned that you were able to establish that connectivity using broadband and VPN type of connections, which would also save a lot of bandwidth cost or heavy investment from the customers, and while accessing those critical applications on cloud, right? Yes. So how easy was it for you to deploy a solution stack on AWS Cloud, and also talk to us about some of the initial customer experience which you had when you took this solution and asked the customer to, instead of on-prem, let's do it on cloud. So what was that interaction, if you could recollect and share some experience?
As you said, how easy? Yeah, it was very easy because earlier my technical team had to be in the premises, in the customer premise, at the bank, to install everything, whatever required. They had to be there to do that at least a week before the implementation. But today my technical team, which is server implementation team, they don't need to move out of the office. They can do it from the office itself. Only the support team can be at the client place. So that was a major difference-making point. And yes, the initial customer, yeah, that was a big challenge, because making them believe that what you are accessing is much safer. Security-wise, it's all available there. What all server requirements you want is still there. The best part was, I'd like to add, that banks who were using something like, say, 32 GB server, we were providing them at just 8 GB server. So they were like, are you sure that the kind of solution you're providing will suffice my requirement? So we had to give them a couple of weeks to understand that and then take it further. So yeah, that was quite interesting.
Thank you so much.
I'm saying interesting, but it was a challenge for my technical team as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think we all saw some glimpse of the affordability, accessibility, and the ease of using these technologies being simple, and also helping these businesses to scale to what they are today, and the kind of digital transformations happening around in this room itself, it's very amazing to see, and we are so proud that we are associated with this journey of our customers.